Well, I'm back with another part of the video. I'll blow that down a little bit so better. And now I have knit until it measures 17 inches, and I've placed a stitch marker there, so that makes it easier to measure the from the armholes up to the shoulder. So I've just lost a couple of stitches there. I have to put them back on the needle. So now I'm going to do the shaping for the armholes. And when you're doing the shaping for the armholes, you just do more or less what you did on the back, but just on one side. So I'll blow that back up. That's a bit too far. Right, so I'm going to cast off 6 stitches at the start of this row. And when you finished the 17 inches, you finished on the wrong side. That's the row you finished on. So you're starting on the right side to do the shaping. So I'm going to cast off 6 stitches. That's 1. 2. 3. 4. That's 5. So that's the 6 stitches I've cast off, and then I'm just going to knit across this row in the pattern. And I'll meet you at the end of this row. So that is that row, the 6 stitches cast off at the start, and then I've patterned to the end. And then the next row is just purl all the way across, which is what you would do for the pattern. So we'll just purl that row, and I'll meet you at the end of that row. So that is the purl row knitted. And so we're going to start on the right side row again. Get the wool out of the way. It's tangled up here. I didn't wind up the long end that I started, the tail end, and it's wound up with the wool. That's it. Now the next row, this row, and then the next alternate row in the same place, we are going to knit, cast off 2 stitches, the same as what we did on the back, but it's only being done on one side. So we're going to cast off 2. That's the 2 stitches. Just work the pattern again across the row, and this is a very easy pattern to work out what stitches you need to do. All you need to look at is, if you see those where the knit stitches are, the 2 little bumps, that's what I call them, 2 little bumps. You knit over those 2 stitches, and the next 2 stitches where there's a long line down to the next bump, you purl on those stitches. There's a lot of people send me emails and they think I should write the patterns down row for row from the armholes because they can't work it out. But it's very easy. It's a very easy pattern to work out. Because once I've left the knitting up to the armholes, some people get very confused about what stitches to do when you're moving the stitches in different places. So anyway, that's going to knit across this row and then purl across the other row, and then I'll be back to show you again. So that row I've cast off 2 more stitches at the armhole edge, knit across, and then I purled across, and I'm going to cast off 2 more stitches at the armhole edge. There's 1, 2, and then just work the pattern across the row again. So that's, you've cast off 2 stitches twice. After you've cast the 6 stitches off, you cast off 2 stitches, knit across that row, then purl across, and on this row we're casting off 2 more stitches, and we're going to knit across this row and then purl back across the row again. And now, after decreasing or casting off those stitches, we now have 60 stitches left on the needle, and we are going to decrease at the armhole edge on every row for 14 rows. And when I decrease on the knit row, I knit into the back of the first 2 stitches like that, and then just follow the pattern across the row. So that is the decrease at the start of the row, and now we're going to purl and we'll decrease at the end of the row. Now I'm up to the last 2 stitches, which I'm going to purl together, and the way I purl is this: as we go this way, I go through the back, so I'll push those stitches forward to make a bit more room to get the needle through, and then I go behind and purl them together like that. But if anyone might find that difficult, just purl front ways like that. I do it that way because I want the stitches to slope inwards, but it'll not really matter when you're sewn up because it probably won't be seen. It's just the way I prefer to do things. It won't be seen because when you set in the sleeves, you sew over those stitches anyway, but that's just the way I prefer it. So as you can see, the stitches are sloping inwards that way. That's why I do it. That's 2 stitches, and this is the 3rd one, the 3rd row. We're going to knit 2 together through the back of the loop again, and then just follow the pattern again, and just keep decreasing 1 stitch on the armhole edge on every row. You will have 46 stitches left after you've decreased those 14 stitches, and I will come back then. So that is the shaping done on the armhole, and now we have to measure from the stitch marker. That's, I put a stitch marker in when I start the armhole shaping, and that is easy to measure up to the shoulder from there. So you're going to knit until it measures 7.5 inches, and then I will be back to show how to do the neck shaping. So my work now measures 7.5 inches from where I put the stitch marker in, where I'm going to do the shape the neck now. And we finished on a right side row, so the neck shaping is starting on the wrong side row. So I'm going to cast off 10 stitches for the neck. I'm going to do it purlwise. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, that's 10 stitches. And then we're just going to purl across to the end of the row now. So now we are going to decrease on every row on the neck edge for the next 8 rows, and you will have 28 stitches left when you finish doing that. So we're just going to knit across as normal to the end of the row. And just follow the pattern what you've been doing all the time. And we have 2 stitches left, so we're just going to knit those 2 stitches together. And then on the next row, my nail's catching on. I must have a little bit thingy on my nail. And on the purl row, we are just going to purl 2 together through the front of the loops. And just purl, whoops, I pulled that stitch out. And just purl to the end of the row. So that's 2 stitches we've decreased together. So after this row, we're going to do that another 6 times. So we'll be left with 28 stitches then. This is the last decrease on the purl row. This is going to leave me with 28 stitches. So that is how the neck looks now, and we are going to knit until it measures 10.5 inches, and it's a little bit more than was before now. It's almost 9 inches now, so I have to knit until 10.5 inches, and then I will be back and show you about the shoulders. Now the front now measures up to the shoulders 10.5 inches. That's how far we want it. And now we're going to cast off the stitches for the shoulders, and it's casting off 14 stitches on this row and the next alternate row. So I'm going to cast off the same stitches that I would be knitting. So if it's purl, cast off purl-wise. If it's knit, cast off knit-wise. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14. So that's the 14 stitches cast off on the shoulder. And now we're just going to knit across this row in pattern. The next row is just purl all the way across. On the next row, we're going to cast off another 14 stitches. Again, cast off the stitches that you would have been knitting. One more stitch to cast off. And that's it. And I'm going to cut the arm, but leave a length long enough to sew the shoulders. and just fasten off. So that is the full left front finished. Go from the rib up to the armholes, to the neckband, and then up to the shoulders. And the next part will be the right front, and the right front is just a mirror image of the left front, except when you come to up to the armholes, instead of finishing on a wrong side row and casting off the stitches on the right side, you'll knit one more row and you'll be casting the stitches off on the opposite side. And the same with the neck. When you get up to the neckband, instead of finishing on the right side row, you finish on the wrong side row, so you'll be casting the stitches off on the opposite side. And the same with the shoulders. Instead of finishing on a wrong side row, you finish on a right side row and you'll be casting off from this side. Just a mirror image of what you've already done on this side. But for anyone that wants all of the written down instructions, so that is the full instructions for the back and the left front. For anyone that wants to write it down, I'll blow that up so you can get it. Too high. Okay, so that is the full instructions for anyone that wants to write that down, but I will be starting on the right front after this. So if you want to see more, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll show you the rest when I get started on it.